What's up? So, after the quartering video, I did a little digging into Tim Pool just to see what he was up to. And I saw this video. The US military is now preparing for full-scale war with China. Bro, really? It's a 32-minute video. We're just gonna see what's up. We also did this one. China threatens US with nuclear war. Okay. And then, I just saw this one right now. Retired general calls for military coup in U.S. escalating fear of civil war. I don't know. He's still pushing that civil war narrative, so he didn't learn anything from January 6th. I don't know. Tim Pool's just... I thought he was plateauing, but no, he's still doing good in views. I thought he was starting to go down. But no. His views are still really consistent. From anywhere from like 200k to 300k. So yeah. And he posts like every day, so that's pretty good. Okay, so we're gonna take a look at this video just to see what he says. 30 minutes of Tim Pool. Oh, here we go. Also, like, special forces like all over the world, so in a way it's true they probably have engaged in some capacity with the CCP. Yeah, they probably have engaged with them, but like full scale war, come on, bro. What are you talking about?
A new op-ed published in the Wall Street Journal asserts that COVID-19 was engineered and could not have emerged in nature. Now, I'm not here to debate the veracity of that opinion piece. I want to point out that it brings us one step closer towards full-scale war with China. Potentially
What?
Absurd statement, but for those who have been paying attention, you know exactly why. Recently, Chinese state media said they need to expand their nuclear arsenal and send a shiver down the spine of the American elites that they will be ready for nuclear war and confrontation. And this came after Joe Biden said we need an investigation into the origins of COVID-19, and many more prominent personalities, including Fauci himself, have entertained the possibility that COVID-19 came from the Wuhan lab. Now, again, I'm not here to talk about COVID. I'm here to point out that it is an escalation of the posturing between the U.S. and China. But of course, posturing is just that. None of this means there will be war with China, but the U.S. is certainly preparing for it. Now, they've been preparing for it for some time, and it seems like they're now taking it much more seriously. Last week I reported, or I should say that I commented on the reporting of military.com, that the Pentagon has begun buying up bombs for Pacific warfare, no longer Middle Eastern warfare, which would be targeting ISIS. Now, this could just be that Donald Trump decimated ISIS, and China's the next logical threat, so let's ramp up
No, they're still around.
our positioning there. But we're now learning from Forbes. Anticipating war with China, the U.S. Air Force is fanning out across the Pacific. It's not the only way in which the U.S. has begun escalating its preparation for a war with China. And as most of you know, there is the idea of the fourth turning, as well as Thucydides Trap. And there's some speculation that what we've seen over the past year is, well, it was meant to shore up our defenses for a looming war with China.
Oh my god, bro. What?
It may be just a coincidence theory, but many have pointed out that with people fleeing big cities and decentralizing the economy with more remote workers, we're more robust in the event of a centralized attack on one of our major economic hubs. And because of COVID,
China's not gonna invade the fucking US, you dumbass. What are you talking about?
we've begun shoring up our manufacturing here at home, which would protect us in the event of full-scale war with China. So I can't tell you what will happen. I can tell you I certainly hope there's not going to be full-scale war with China. But looming tensions over Taiwan suggest that it's more than just one thing. A new leaked document is now being covered far and wide that the U.S. actually proposed nuking China, mainland China, over Taiwan. And as China seeks to gain control of this.
Okay, I'm no geopolitical expert. Neither is this guy. So whoever's like saying all this crazy stuff needs to chill out. They need to fucking chill out. That's like way too extreme. Come on.
Island nation, and major disputes arise culturally over Taiwan. It stands to reason.
Also, like, if that did happen, it's like game over for the world. Like, no more. Bye-bye. So they know this and they're not going to do it.
There's a real catalyst for war outside of just COVID, and we could be staring down the barrel of, maybe it sounds silly, but World War III. I mean, if you look at what China's doing with the Uyghur Muslims, there's certainly a moral call from many people for some kind of intervention. You've got the economic push, and now you've got COVID. A lot of people might actually start becoming bullish on this, and that to me is worrying. We don't want war. But sometimes there's hard moral questions, and
some people do. It'd get him views.
I'll tell you this. Yeah, the milquetoast fence sitter guy, I don't have all the answers. I can't tell you what we should or shouldn't do, but I'm typically anti-war. There's a fear, though, that China will start pushing.
He says that, but then he was all like, well, Trump didn't start any new war, so we fucking escalate every single one that we had, so stop.
And then war will happen no matter what we do. So I don't have the answers. But let's take a look at what the U.S. is doing, why they're doing it, and why there is real fear that war with China could be around the corner. Before we get started, head over to timcast.com, click the members only button, become a member to help support our work. It gets you access to our exclusive members only section from the Timcast IRL podcast.
It's not part of Blaze TV, is it? No, I don't see it.
But more importantly, supports the work we do so we can expand. We're doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes. We've got some new potential employees. We've got a newsroom set to launch very soon, and we are going to be expanding very dramatically. There will come a time where I will be commenting, for the most part, on original reporting from our staff, including myself, and it's with your support and only because of your support.
So propaganda? Cool.
Please consider helping out if you like the work that I do, but you can also really help out by sharing this video. As I often say, I don't have the marketing budget of CNN. YouTube does not give me preferential authoritative access like they do CNN. If you
Dog, you're getting consistent views. What?
Think this video should get more views than CNN's videos do, share them. It's the best thing we can do, and it really does help me out and the work I'm doing. If you think the work I'm doing is good, that's one way you can support it, support these videos. But don't forget to like and subscribe as well. From Forbes, anticipating war with China, the U.S. Air Force is fanning out across the Pacific. Forbes reports. For years, the U.S. Air Force concentrated its warplanes at just 2 bases in the Western Pacific. For fighters, Kadena Air Force Base in Japan's Okinawa Prefecture, and for bombers and big support planes, Guam's Andersen Air Force Base. Beijing eyed these mega bases and devised a simple strategy for suppressing U.S. air power in the region. Build a couple thousand non-nuclear ballistic missiles, and in wartime, lob them at the bases until their runways, aprons, hangars, fuel tanks, and warehouses are nothing but craters. After years of buildup, the Chinese...
Wait, this is an opinion piece, right? Anticipating war with China. Oh, maybe not.
Build a couple thousand non-nuclear ballistic missiles, and in wartime, lob them at the bases until their runways, aprons, hangars, fuel tanks, and warehouses are nothing but craters. After years of buildup, the Chinese rocket force possesses around 1,300 ground-launched missiles with sufficient range to hit Kadena and Andersen from mainland China. Now, this may just be the U.S. realizing its vulnerabilities. It may not actually be in anticipation to full-scale war with China.
Yeah, it's that first one. Like, I know they... What video was that? I don't remember. But it was just talking about how, like, nations across the world are upping their military budget. It's just, like... They sense there's hostilities, so... And, like... A lot of our technology, militarily-wise, is outdated, so...
But I'm a little bit more bullish. I lean towards, I think we're going in the direction, both philosophically. I mean, if you look at history, if you look at things like the Fourth Turning and Thucydides Trap, There's maybe some speculative
What is he talking about? The fourth turning. We're gonna look at that real quick. The fourth turning. William Strauss. William Strauss' know-how will change the way you see the world and your place in it. With blazing originality, the fourth turning illuminates the past, explains the present, and reimagines the future. Most remarkably, it offers an utterly persuasive prophecy about how America's past will predict its future. Okay. Strauss and Howe bases this vision on a provocative theory of American history. The author looks back 500 years and uncovers a distinct pattern. Modern history moves in cycles, each one lasting about the length of a long human life, each composed of 4 eras, or turnings, that last about 20 years and that always arrive in the same order. The fourth turning, the author illustrates these cycles using a brilliant analysis of post-World War II period. First comes a high, a period of confident expansion as a new order takes root after the old has been swept away. Next comes awakening, a time of spiritual exploration and rebellion against the now established order. Then comes unraveling, an increased troubled era in which individualism triumphs over crumbling institutions. Okay, I can see why Timful likes this. Last comes a crisis, the fourth turning, when society passes through a great and perilous gate in history. Together, the 4 turnings compromise history's seasonal rhythm of growth, maturation, and entropy and rebirth. The fourth turning offers bold predictions about how all of us can prepare individually and collectively for America's next rendezvous with destiny. When did that come out? Oh, it came out in 2009. Interesting. And what else did he say? Something about a trident?
history. If you look at things like the fourth turning and Thucydides Trap.
Thucydides Trap. How do you spell that? Thucydides Trap, also referred, is a term popularized by American political scientist Graham T. Allison to describe an apparent tendency towards war when an emerging power threatens to displace an existing great power as a regional or international hegemon. It was coined and is primarily used to describe a potential conflict between the United States and the People's Republic of China. The term is based on a quote by ancient Athenian historian and military general Thucydides, which was posited that the Peloponnesian War between Athens and Sparta had been inevitable because of Spartan fears of growth of Athenian power. 2012. See, for me, like, I get a little cautious when people start talking about stuff like this because it's like, oh, I'm fervently anti-war. So, and these people seem to be like kind of egging it on. A perilous trap, but uncertain outcome today. An irresistible rising China is on course to collide with an immovable America. The likely result of this competition was identified by the great historian Thucydides, and it was, I can't say the name. It was the rise of. But the point of Destined for War is not to predict the future, but to prevent it. Escaping Thucydides' trap is not just a theoretical possibility. In 4 of the 16 cases, including 3 from the 20th century, imaginative statecraft averted war. And Washington and Beijing steered their ship of state through today's treacherous shoals, only if they learn and apply the lesson of history.
It could also be that they're ramping up their plans against Taiwan. They're ramping up their attempts at seizing the South China Sea. They're bombing Vietnamese fishing boats. Tensions are escalating. Of course, now you have the op-ed about COVID.
Are they? It's like a shark. On a warm cloudless morning in June, a giant vessel blasted through the still waters of the South China Sea towards a wooden fishing boat painted in Carillion blue and flying a red flag of Vietnam. The veteran fishing captain cranked up the engine to flee, but the approaching ship dropped 2 motorized dinghies into the sea with uniformed officers abroad. The rubber cross paced along either side of the fishing boat, squeezing it like a pincer. As the captain slowed to avoid collision, the large ship was soon upon them. The large letters across its hull read China. Crammed into their cabin for safety, the 17 men were knocked by a deck of a jolt that nearly tripped the boat, then another and another. Like war, recalled the crew, remembered Yonde. Oh, I didn't hear about this, damn. I guess it was just showing its force. Okay, so these countries don't have nearly enough naval power on their own to dissuade China. Instead, the governments of Vietnam, the Philippines, and other states have waged a quieter form of resistance by encouraging traditional fishing communities to continue venturing into disputed waters, placing them on the front lines of Chinese aggression. It's like, it's been going on for years then. Because that picture was from 2014. Okay. Well, I'll read the rest of it later.
The COVID origins and what it means for the West, for Europe and the U.S. Should our economy have been decimated because of the Wuhan Institute of Virology's lab leak? If that's true, Rand, you're going to see a lot.
So he was like, I don't know if it came from the lab. And then he's like saying it came from the lab. Come on, bro. My position is like, what's his name? Wonder if I can find that video. Sam Harris? Yes. Yeah, okay. He did in one of the podcasts with Joe Rogan, he said like it's not the danger of like man-made viruses or diseases. It's the diseases themselves from like mutating. Unless he changed his position, but yeah. I think he said he went somewhere. Well, yeah, anyway, Sam Harris was like, man could create all like the diseases they can, but the real threat is from these bacteria or viruses like mutating. So that's Sam Harris is a smart guy, but like he's not right on everything. But I feel when it comes to that, he hit the nail on the head with that one.
A lot of people who are very angry, and they'll demand recompense. They'll demand some kind of reparation. China won't be willing to give. They may just say, you know what, screw it. Now, right now, China's saying Australia is exaggerating because, you know, Australia recently came out. There was a report that they suggested war with China was also possible, and Australia has been working with the U.S. Now the U.S. all of a sudden is fanning out its air power. U.S. military doctrine is predicated upon air superiority, and now we have the U.S. Air Force fanning out its Air Force, giving it the ability to defend against a very serious assault from China. We recently heard, too, this is months ago now, that the U.S. was moving many of its bombers out of Guam, out of fear that China could wipe it out. This is the result of that. We're getting ready for something. Maybe nothing happens, but we're certainly getting ready for it. I want to make sure I stress that. A lot of people might think anticipation or fear of war or preparation for war means quite literally war will happen. I'm not saying that. And hopefully that's not what happens. Forbes continues.
He kind of is. He's like pushing it and then he's like backing off. You're like, he's leading you there, doesn't say it's gonna happen, and then he'll pull back.
So I'm less concerned about the nitty-gritty of the tactics here, but I do want to point out it's not just the fanning out of the Pacific Fleet for the Air Force. Pentagon eyes new bombs for war with China, not ISIS. Now, I reported on this last week after China threatened nuclear war over COVID origins. I just want to briefly...
Did they, though? Well...
mention it for those who may not have seen.
That's the thing with Tim Pool. Unless you're like reading all these articles, or you know, because like that's his job, just to like read all these articles, and in a way he's cherry picking the information. But if you're gonna confront him, not that like I don't know. Like I said, unless you like know exactly what's going on or what he's talking about, it's hard to combat him. Not necessarily because he's so like smart about it. It's just he reads so much and he's going through so much information that you kind of need to be like up to date yourself, or else you'll be like, well, can't answer that. Like, look what happened to Destiny during their debate. Granted, he was using he was drawing from his own experience. You can't really like go against that, but whatever. They were talking about like journalism stuff.
Seen that story. It is possible that the reason we're seeing this is simply because Trump wiped out ISIS. They go to mention that the Air Force wants to increase its procurement of the joint.
He didn't wipe out ISIS. They're still there. And like, I'm not really sure what's going down in Syria at the moment. But there's always like the fear that they might come back. This book, War in the Age of Trump by Patrick Cockburn, is a good book. Check it out. I feel like he understands the threat of ISIS better than anyone. So Patrick Cockburn, that is. So check that book out.
Air-to-surface standoff missile extended range, stealth cruise missiles, advanced weaponry. Many of these bombs are good for Pacific warfare, not Middle Eastern warfare. The speculation could be that we're diverting our attention away from the Middle East and getting ready for Pacific War. Considering the U.S. has been deploying more and more military assets to the Middle East, considering Joe Biden, who he is, pushing back our withdrawal from Afghanistan and escalating tensions in Syria, a lot of people might not buy the idea that we're pulling out or we're not buying as many bombs for the Middle East because we've accomplished our mission. No, I certainly don't think that's the case. I think it's the case of finite resources and revenue. The U.S. can only support so much weaponry, can only buy so much. So although Joe Biden has been more hawkish towards the Middle East, the U.S. is now buying up bombs that would better suit them in Pacific War, in my opinion. The U.S.
The Air Force also wants to increase its procurement of joint air-to-surface standoff missile, extended range, JASSM-ER, stealth cruise missile, and advanced weapon of range of roughly 600 miles. The budget documents state officials have previously had the JASSM and its cousin long-range anti-ship missile, and the LRASM can be used to stand off precision strikes throughout the vast expanse of Pacific region.
Is gearing up for war in the Pacific. War with China, which may come soon and hopefully doesn't. I want to stress that. But what do you say? It's normal, it's saber rattling, nothing's going to happen, it's Cold War stuff. Yeah, but maybe. This new story about the U.S. wanting potentially nuking China over Taiwan, well, it didn't happen. And the proposal was 1958. That's good reason to believe none of this means much of anything. Considering, however, the philosophical, the historical, fourth turning, Thucydides Trap, yeah, you got me worried, man. You got me worried. Check this out. This one I find really the most interesting. General Charles Flynn, brother of former National Security Advisor, takes reins of U.S. Army Pacific. Why Charles Flynn, of all people? I have no idea. You mean General Michael Flynn's brother? Yeah. They say General Charles Flynn took command of U.S. Army Pacific on Friday, vowing to continue transforming the 90,000 soldier force into one that can meet the challenge of a rising China. Quote, today as China trends on an increasingly concerning path, presenting challenge to the free and open Pacific, the Army is charged to change once more, Flynn said during a live stream ceremony at Fort Shafter. Media were not allowed to attend the event. Flynn, the younger brother of Michael Flynn, who briefly served as National Security Advisor under Trump, took the reins from General Paul LaCamera, who will move on to command U.S. forces in Korea. This could be nothing. Could literally be a promotion, so they're moving some people around. Some people I know are getting really conspiratorial with it. I'm not interested in any of those conspiracies about Michael Flynn's brother now commanding the Pacific Fleet. This could just be, Paul LaCamera.
I don't like that. It is a little sus.
Moving to Korea to use his experience specifically in an area where North Korea is a threat. Maybe it makes sense. But if we're taking someone from the Pacific Fleet, commanding U.S. forces in Korea, it could potentially be war with China's.
Fucking Tim.
I bring you now to one of the most alarming stories I've gotten for a while, which comes from last month. Jacobin magazine.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, that was not during the Korean War was 1950, I think. 1950 to 1953.
Magazine, which most of you know, socialist magazine, said the Pentagon seriously contemplated nuking China in 1958. Hey, we're serious. The United States ain't playing around. Newly leaked documents show that U.S. officials in 1958 cavalierly planned a nuclear strike on China over a handful of disputed islands. As Washington once more stokes tension with China, it's a reminder of the callous recklessness at the heart of U.S. foreign policy. Interesting time to release this information. Why was it done? They mention that this latest leak comes from Daniel Ellsberg. They say in the middle of this that Daniel Ellsberg, the whistleblower who leaked the Pentagon Papers 50 years ago in an effort to end the Vietnam War, has released dozens of pages from a 1966 study revealing just how close the world came to nuclear war while conflict over Taiwan was brewing in 1958. The pages show that the U.S. government's top brass made concerted plans to drop nuclear bombs on China should it try to take not just Taiwan, the headquarters of the anti-communist Chinese nationalists backed by Washington, but several of the...
Yeah, the general of the Korean War, he wanted to nuke China at the time, I think. Because they feared that they were going to, like, take over Korea or something. I should read more about this stuff.
Ellsberg, considered to be a hero who helped end the Vietnam War, conveniently drops a document that the U.S. seriously considered nuking China in 1958, particularly over Taiwan. At a time when the U.S. already fears a rising risk from China who wants to take Taiwan, all of a sudden now a document drops where it's like, oh.
Wait, when that document dropped? Oh, it came out May 27th.
Oh, China, by the way, we will nuke you if you do this. Coincidence? Convenient? Useful idiot? Or attempted deterrence? I honestly have no idea. But I think the message here is clear. The message is to China. What do you think China, the Chinese officials, the military, the Chinese Communist Party, what do you think they are thinking when they see this? First of all, they probably knew it already, but this is a public rattle of the saber, and it comes from Daniel Ellsberg. Okay, so maybe coincidence, but I have to imagine this sends a message. We know you want Taiwan. We know you are training to take Taiwan. Don't forget, we will blow you up with nukes on mainland China if you so much as try it. Really convenient timing for this really, really old document to drop right now, of all times. I find it strange. I really, really do. I find it suspect. There's a viral meme going around where they say U.S. intelligence agencies say, weapons of mass destruction in the Middle East. They told us a lot of things to get us into war. Now we're hearing lab leak, we're hearing posturing, saber rattling, now we're getting this. Man, I am just not a fan of it. You don't know who to trust. I can tell you, there are very serious moral questions about entering war that I can't answer. I can only ask.
Oh my God.
Do we sit back as China engages in atrocities and expands its footprint, challenging the U.S. at every turn? Do we just sit back as the Uyghur Muslims are abused and put in these concentration camps? Yikes, man.
We've been sitting back.
Do we sit back if lab leak turns out to be true? Yikes. What do we do? Look, I don't like war. I don't like the war in the Middle East because we were lied to into getting into it. So how am I supposed to trust these agencies now when they start saying these things? I don't know if I believe that either.
He's saying this, but he's still pushing it. What do you... Oh.
And again, the U.S. intelligence agencies haven't concluded lab leak is real. I'm saying I don't know what to tell you. My biggest fear is that media like this emerges and we get swept up in the we must act mentality. As most of you know, if you follow my videos on this issue, when I had Cassandra Fairbanks on Timcast IRL, she said tons of countries engage in atrocities. We don't intervene in all of them. That's true. We don't. It's a really good point. It is a really good point. Why China, though? Well, China's expanding its military operations in the South China Sea. China's building more nuclear bombs, or they're advocating for it. They're expanding into the Pacific. They're apparently in violation of some of these military conventions about expanding military presence in the Pacific. They're doing it anyway. They're sending spies to our colleges. The Thousand Talents program. The U.S. has been arresting these professors who've been in on the take from China. Oh, they're acting against us. There's cyber warfare you can't even see. They hacked Google a few years back, Gmail, targeting some activists.
Like, we're not doing the same stuff, dude.
Do we just say, war isn't worth it, so we will let you keep playing dirty?
Ugh. Nah, man, I don't know what to say.
People of Taiwan don't think it's going to be a full-scale invasion. The U.S. does. This
Pressure on pineapple wars. Taiwan fears quieter Chinese threat as U.S. warns of invasion. I'm gonna go with Taiwan on this one.
This is from NBC News. They say Taiwan fears quieter Chinese threat. They say while officials in Washington sound the alarm about a...
If anything, they're trying to squeeze them economically. Like a full-scale invasion would be last resort. Like, I don't even know if the U.S. would even get involved if they did. I don't know, man.
Potential Chinese invasion of Taiwan. Officials and residents on the island say that fails to understand the true dynamics of the region. What they're saying in this report is that many in Taiwan believe China will use soft power, political pressure, propaganda, manipulation to gain more and more power in the region. If China is successful in, say, undermining the United States.
Yeah, I think it's that one. They're not the USSR. They're something completely different. So soft power and economic power is their thing.
From Reuters, they say U.S. manufacturing gains steam. Raw material, labor shortages are mounting. Another critical weak point. So maybe if there is a thirst for war, it won't happen all too soon. Not until the U.S. can secure raw materials and labor. The labor thing's really fascinating, though. It really is. People aren't working. Why? Let's talk about the COVID thing. People from big cities moved out of big cities. People from New York, 500,000, moved away.
What's the population of New York, bro? 8.4 million. Yeah, people are leaving, but like, there's still a big population in these cities. It's not like everyone's fucking dipping.
Started working remotely, helped decentralize our economy. What if there was a nuclear strike on a major city? Our economy would be seriously injured, seriously crippled. Okay. After the lockdowns, tons of people spread out to all different areas, and many of them still work in the same places, just remotely. That's good. We've sort of decentralized our economy to a bit, so it's safe from a single point of failure. What about raw materials and resources and jobs? Well, guess what? People aren't working at McDonald's anymore. People aren't working at these fast food restaurants. Granted, they're not working at steel mills or farms, but...
Like, literally in my area, everyone is hiring. It's not like McDonald's are fucking empty, bro. I don't know how it is in like the Midwest or even the South, but
this is a dramatic refocus of what we need. All of a sudden, there's a ton of people who aren't working. They're getting paid not to work, basically, as fast food restaurants desperately beg for labor. What happens when Joe Biden has all of these people who desperately need work? Then he launches his Green New Deal-like plan. Trillions of dollars towards infrastructure. Well, a lot of people don't want to work at McDonald's for $15 an hour, $16. What happens when Biden comes out and says we need to build bridges, roads, and infrastructure for $25 an hour? What happens then when he decides we're cutting off your unemployment? Joe Biden, with this unemployment package, inadvertently or whatever, has a lot of people not working. Behind the scenes, it's not a conspiracy. It's stupid conspiracy theory. We know the government has plans. We know they plan for war, they strategize. If you think they don't, I mean, you're nuts. That's not a conspiracy theory. It's just me wondering, what is the U.S. doing? What are they getting ready for? What are they scared of? Well, these moves in the Pacific mean they've probably been well prepared for war for some time, and now they're making
no shit.
The public moves. If the U.S. thought war with China was going to happen, do you think they would announce their movements first? No. They would secure resources, the economy, planning, infrastructure. Then they would start buying up bombs and moving out the fleet.
The woke military personnel that make up our armed forces after the NC political purge are most likely to join the Chinese. Oh my god, shut up, dude. A bunch of dumbasses in the comments. Yep. This guy is right. Every video Tim does, something will happen. 5 seconds later, maybe nothing will happen. Yeah, he says he's anti-war, and then he's like, I don't know, man. It looks like it might be a war. Tim Fool's got a lot of stuff wrong, so everything he says, it's like, take with a grain of salt. Oh, Tim Pool's doing his thing. And like, if that's what he believes, you can't really convince him otherwise. You could try to, but Tim understands where his money comes from. Fear mongering. So yeah, I think Tim is definitely a grifter, dude.
The crisis on the southern
Even the quartering agrees. Tim Pool's like views on dating are so funny, dude. Tim Pool dating. Did I watch that video?
I want to present to you some ideas.
Yeah.
And then you can just tell me what you think.
Sure.
And then we'll start from there.
That sounds great.
So have you heard that like young dudes aren't dating for the most part? Like they're not hooking up, they're virgins.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, before we even go anything, why do you think that is?
I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with dating apps and women having more options now.
So I'll explain this idea, and I guess you agree.
Yeah.
But we did a segment on this before, so just bear with me if you've already seen it. Basically, before dating apps and social media, a college-age woman or high school, whatever age, is their dating pool is limited. I say college is probably a better idea.
Yeah.
Right? It's probably a better example. Their dating pool is limited to the other college students of the same age and around their peers. But with Tinder, now they can message a 30-year-old guy who lives 5-10 miles away and who has a car. So when when this woman swipes right on a 20-year-old college dude and a 30-year-old career guy, she thinks they're both attractive, messages both of them. The 30-year-old guy says, I can pick you up in my Honda Civic and we can go to the lake or go see a movie.
Yes.
So yeah, he's talking about like how basically men are, what he just said, men are not dating and they're not having sex. So he pins it on like how girls can message guys on older guys on dating apps.
And are driven to find a mate, whether or not you like it or not. Like, we're driven to be like, okay, who can support us? And, men are driven to be like, okay, well, who's going to give us healthy children? These are biological impulses that we have. So a woman whose options are a guy with no job, drinks. Yep.
People aren't getting married anymore. They actually, and now we have, with like the Me Too movement, there is a backlash. Dating has become a lot harder.
Yes.
Men are behaving differently. What's...
Not really. Like,
what's the future then going to be?
I mean, if you want to look at the way that we kind of look at social media at this point, like, oh, if you're not finding it, find another site. Maybe there needs to be like a site made for the 20-year-olds that are getting girlfriends looking for it. So maybe there's a group of women who aren't getting boyfriends that, like aren't feminists, but something like that. So maybe make an alternate site for these men and try to do it.
I just don't think that's going to work, though. I think, if a 20-year-old woman can choose, even a 25-year-old guy who's got a car and a job,
she's gonna.
Yeah. And so then what happens is those young men who are in college aren't forming relationships, aren't seeing any incentive to better themselves, to become a provider or a protector.
So that's why they become feminists instead.
What? What? No, what? I don't know, man. There's a lot of like I said in the base Zeus video, there's a lot of economic reasons for all this. I forgot what college did a study how like I think it was, no, I'm not gonna, whatever. Anyway, a lot of economic reasons for this. A lot of societal reasons too. So Tim Pool likes to peg it on feminism, but no, dude. No.
Well, no, the predators do.
Ugh, yeah.
Right, because but yeah, a lot of them are probably so desperate they'll say, "I'll just say whatever you want."
Yeah.
But then women don't like that.
Yeah.
Well, I'll ask you. We'll make it a little personal.
Sure.
Would you like a male feminist guy who just fawns over you and does whatever you say?
I would hate that.
Well, there you go. And then what ends up happening is these guys who are like white knights, neckbeard, whatever.
Yeah.
I know I'm being a little harsh, but let's just say these guys, then after a year of doing what the movies told them to do, are shocked to find you are not attracted to them. And so then what happens?
Then they could get angry.
Get handsy.
Yeah, get handsy.
And then get called out, and then we reset the clock.
Yep.
Yeah, so I want to be very delicate here, otherwise all the feminists in the world are going to come and try and bite my head off. But I've seen a lot of rhetoric that women want egalitarian relationships. They want to be with equal partners.
Yeah.
But then everything we actually see is not the case. It's not the case. How do you feel about this? Do you think overwhelmingly women biologically want stronger, assertive men?
Yes, because I think your impulses biologically outweigh your social construct. I think it's nature versus nurture, and nature wins in the long run, no matter how much you try to.
That was one of the studies that I was reading the other day as well, that you have all these feminists in San Francisco, when asked, said, "Oh, I want an equal relationship." And then when they're like, how do you date? And they're like, oh, well, when I date, it's traditional gender roles.
Yes.
So what's the future then? Men aren't men.
You think? And then they move into the role of the people who stole the eligible women from them.
No, they have no experience with women.
So they'll just move into the basements instead of into the role.
Right.
Yeah.
So like for me, I'm a couple weeks away from being 34. But I grew up at a time.
Oh, wow.
I was coming of age
He's 35.
when these social media platforms were being built. So I exploited
This was a year ago, so yeah, he's 35.
all of them.
Yes.
I had a very normal teenage and years and 20s and everything, dating, hooking up, partying, all the good stuff. And I skateboarded all the time, and I was arrogant and cocky, just awful person, all that. And the ladies loved it. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but I mean, they kind of did. And now I'm in my 30s, and I can go on dating apps and be like, oh yeah, yep, you got it. And then these other guys who are like 26.
He says that now, but later in the video, he's like, I'm not really seeing anyone right now.
Have no experience because guys like me have dominated the dating apps for the entire time.
Timmy boy, I'm not scared of you.
Yep.
So when they're 30, they've never dated before.
And they might, if they've tried a dating app and it didn't work, they're probably not going to want to go back on it when they're 30 to try again.
But dating apps are awful anyway. Like it's
Never
like
tried one.
Well, it's like for women, it's just you just sit there and you get inundated with messages from literally everyone.
Let me recommend you to my friend Based Zeus. I want to see his Tinder profile just to see what he had. If it's all pictures with beanies, then sorry, bro. No wonder why it sucked for you.
And then guys go in and message literally everyone.
Yep.
It's become awful. So I've basically walked away from it, just like, ugh, it's trash. But there was a period where it was like.
Does he have an Instagram? Let's check out Temple's Instagram. I like how this went from like Cold War with China to now we're talking about Temple's dating life. He does have an Instagram. Let's see. Oh, dude. Oh my god. Oh. No wonder why he's having trouble dating. He doesn't even have pictures of himself. Timmy boy. Tim, let me tell you right now. Bring me onto Timcast IRL. We'll do a photo shoot and get your Instagram looking good. Boom. Find you a wife, dude. I mean, like, my Instagram's not the best either, but it's like decent. Yeah, look at this cutie. Follow me on Instagram. Oh, hey. I should do a video on this guy. Real Khalil. Getting ahead of myself. Yeah, look at Khalil's Instagram, Tim. He's got pictures of himself. Yeah, Tim. We gotta set you up, bro. I'm worried about you, my guy. You're so obsessed about China. We gotta focus your attention to girls, dude. What's this say? Conservatives can't tell leftists and liberals apart. Leftist doesn't bother telling conservatives and liberals apart. Liberals think leftists and conservatives are equally bad. No girl wants to see this, bro. Okay, I'm gonna follow Tim. I have a soft spot for Tim. His opinions are pretty dumb, and his takes are pretty bad, but I feel for the guy. Let's see. Now he has some pictures. It's all the same pictures. Tim, we gotta get you, bro. Like, we gotta get you them photo shoots. The Antifa handbook. Dude, Tim, you know what? I'm gonna set you up with Jesus, and he'll help you out, dude.
Ugh, it's trash. But there was a period where it was like, I don't know if you've seen the Family Guy episode where Quagmire discovers Tinder. And
Oh, yes.
and he's like hunched over and he's like swiping.
Like a troll. Yeah.
Right, exactly. Gollum.
Gollum, yeah,
Right,
that's
from Lord of the
right.
Rings. So there was a period where it was glorious, and then everyone just got on board with it.
Yeah.
Everyone uses it, and now it's just a waste. But I'm kind of envisioning this future now where I think one of the main driving factors for what makes someone successful and responsible is pair bonding, mating. You know, like a reason to live, to grow. At least it used to be. And now I'm like,
I mean, there is hope because a lot of people outgrow the social justice aspect that's kind of aiding in stunting all these men, like the women who are super social justice. So eventually they're going to be like, okay.
Not really. I don't know any guy who's like scared of dating as a feminist, dude. That's such a weird take.
Like, I'm ready to settle down now.
you know what I failed to factor in with this hypothesis? These 30-year-old guys who were, stepped over because of Tinder and stuff.
Yeah.
There are going to be 20-year-old women who aren't going to go for 40-year-old guys.
Yes.
I mean, they actually might, though.
Please, if you're 40, just stick to your age group. Don't go lower, dude.
Some of them.
Some.
But then you're going to have weird women as a result.
Yeah.
You're going to have 30-year-old guys who live in their parents' basement.
Women like older men.
Yeah, there was a video by these two comedians, and it was like they're singing, and it's two women.
Yeah.
And they're singing about like being 29 and how like everything's great and life is good. And then she's like, and now I'm turning 30. And then she just starts screaming, everyone's gone. What's happening? Where are all the men? Yeah, that's going to happen.
Dirty 30.
It's like,
People ask me why I won't start an account for my cat Figaro, and well, this might have something to do with it.
You don't want to be a cat lady.
He
Okay. I think we're done for the day. All right. Well, I mean, I could do a lot of videos on Tim Pool. He'd post like every day, but I'll keep an eye on him, but we'll see. I got a lot of reading to do. Okay. See you later.